bow our heads and pray. Dear Heavenly Father, first of all, we thank you for the salvation that we have in Christ Jesus our Lord. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, so that whosoever believeth in him shall not perish, but have everlasting life. Lord, your word says, ask and you shall receive. For therefore it is with this confidence that we come before your throne of grace and ask that your Holy Spirit direct our hearts and minds during this special gathering as we bring awareness to the domestic violence that so tragically tears apart so many families and lives throughout this world. Lord, we humbly ask that you break the pattern of emotional and physical abuse that so scarred the hearts of these victims worldwide. We ask that you heal their pain and suffering, refresh their hearts, their souls, and their minds with your infinite and precious love and grace. Fill them with your peace and joy, for you have said, blessed are those who mourn, for they will be comforted. For you, Lord, will never leave them nor forsake them, for our trust and our faith remains in your unconditional love, in your unconditional mercy, and in your perfect judgment. Oh, Heavenly Father, we also pray that you comfort all those family members whose loved ones now rest in your presence because of the actions of their abusers. We pray that you heal their broken hearts and troubled minds. Restore them and draw them to you so that they may have true freedom and peace of mind. We pray also, Lord, that you bind the demonic influence that is so present in the lives of these abusers. Move the hearts of these individuals to confess and turn from their sinful ways. And finally, Lord, thank you for all those loving and special servants of yours in this community and throughout the world, whom you have placed in the lives of these victims and survivors to help, to protect, and to encourage them in their time of trouble. Lord, bless them richly with the tools that they need to continue helping these individuals and fill each and every one of them with your love, grace, and peace. Lord, for thy kingdom come, thy will be done. For thine is the kingdom and the glory and the power forever and ever. Amen.
Thank you, Andy. Now we would like to welcome our mayor of the city of Edinburgh, Mr. Ramiro Garza, to say the welcome remarks.
Good morning. You may be seated. I just wanted to take this opportunity to welcome each and every one of you today to this event. The city of Edinburgh has been a partner with a lot of law enforcement agencies here for so many years on this issue that we have with domestic violence. And the city of Edinburgh is committed to continuing to partner with anybody that we can partner with, not just fellow law enforcement agencies, but also all the nonprofit agencies that are here to fight domestic violence, because as a city, it's not something that we can do alone. It's something that we can only do together. And I also want to take this opportunity to thank the other district attorneys that are here, starting with our own district attorney, Ricardo Rodriguez, Mr. Luis Saenz in Stark County and Willacy County. Thank you so much for coming together. We're often known for having that Friday night football mentality, that we don't come together. You, ladies and gentlemen, are leading the effort of bringing the region together. And you couldn't bring us all together for a more important mission. And we thank you for that. And we thank everybody that is involved in the law enforcement community, and again, the nonprofit agencies, to ensure that we continue to fight. This is, as we continue to grow, not just here in the city of Edinburgh, but throughout the region. This is something that unfortunately will increase, but I think sticking together and remaining committed to fight this, will help ensure that we can help as many lives as we can. Thank you all so much for being here.
Thank you, Mayor. We have been doing this press conference since 2015 when our district attorney, Ricardo Rodriguez Jr., got elected into office. And we have stayed true to our mission and our cause to help all victims of domestic violence. We know and understand that victims come from all ages, genders, socioeconomic levels. And so our office has dedicated this past 7 years to develop resources and not just create the victims unit within our office, but develop a community collaborative effort to address domestic violence. Now we're at the stage where we're doing regional efforts because we understand that many victims cross our county lines, and that's why we have the district attorneys coalition that is now joining efforts to do prevention work. One of Mr. Rodriguez's priorities since he came in office was prevention education. We knew and understand that we cannot be working in the aftermath of crime continuously. We wanted to prevent from further victims coming to our office in the aftermath when something had already happened. So we have done a lot of prevention work, particularly with our youth. We have gone to schools and to practically anywhere that they allow us to speak to them, not just to talk about the dangers of domestic violence, because we all know those dangers and we know that domestic violence is lethal and it kills a lot of women, men, and children every year. But we talk about healthy relationships. We talk to our youth about how to be in healthy relationships, what they can do when they fall victims of abuse. So this has been a number one priority for DA Rodriguez, and we want to commend him for the work that he has done for this past 7 years to help all of us come together and be able to do this prevention education. So I would like to take a moment so that Mr. Rodriguez can come up to the podium and say a few words.
Thank you, Rosie. And I want to thank all of you for being here. As I'm looking out and as I was walking around and saying hi to everyone, yeah, it took me back to 2015 when we had our first press conference. And, I see a lot of familiar faces that were there. I see a lot of new faces also as well today. But it's something that was near and dear, to my heart in the sense of making sure that we educate our community the best we can. As prosecutors, obviously, we have Mr. Science here from Cameron County, we have Gocha Ramirez here from Star, and we have Ms. Annette Hinojosas here from Willacy. We have a huge responsibility in making sure that we prosecute, all types of cases, especially domestic violence cases. That's a huge responsibility that we carry with us. And we try to do the best that we can every day. We try to be efficient and we try to be effective as best as we can in our offices, with our prosecutors, with our staff. Every day we try our best. But also there's an important part, an ingredient also as prosecutors that we can't forget. That's prevention awareness. It's huge. Look what we've created. Look what we've done. We've done so much to be able to get commitments, not only from the city of Edinburgh, from the city of Mission, from the city of Hidalgo, Donna, all these agencies have come together, not only to work and prevent and educate during domestic violence, but through all the years they've come together to try to do the best that we can to not have a victim in our office, to not have a statistic, to not have a number, to not have a file in our office. But the community is forgetting that they are a huge part of this as well. They can be a huge part in stopping this. I keep saying I hate when I'm asked how many numbers do we have of domestic violence? How many deaths do we have, up to this year because of domestic violence? I hate that question because unfortunately it's a high number. We shouldn't have any at all. But again, we can't do it ourselves. Law enforcement can't do it themselves. The D's office in every county here in Rio Grande Valley can't do it themselves. The agencies out there can't do it themselves. It's our community who has to commit to this and say enough is enough. We have to stop this because obviously just prosecution and prosecuting individuals, it hasn't been enough. And we're not going to stop that. But what is the solution? What is it that we have to do to stop it? Someone asked me just a little while ago, is it our culture? Is it because of who we are? I don't know. But it's not difficult to identify. It's not difficult to find out who's living through domestic violence. It's easy, but sometimes we don't want to do anything about it. So to that victim who's out there, To that person, if you're in this crowd, or you're listening, or you're in your home or your workplace, we here stand together. We have joined together as a coalition to say enough is enough. And we share ideas, we talk to each other in the sense of only trying to do justice and trying to give that service that's so important that was for too long neglected. You know, we have Mujeres Unidas here, Mujeres Unidas who's here, who has done so much work in so many years to try to help and give that service. We wanted to join them. We want to say we want to help you. We want to commit. And that's why you see these DAs up here, because they have committed themselves not only for their respective counties, but for the whole Rio Grande Valley. Just think about it. Think about that person who's living through domestic violence today. They are not to blame. They are not to blame because we say you never said anything. It's a tough topic. Not too many people want to talk about it. Nobody wants to address it. Think of that person who's afraid and saying, how do I seek help? How do I get out of this relationship? You know what it is? It's help that they need, whether it's our office here in Hidalgo County, whether it's in Cameron County, whether it's in Star, whether it's in Willacy, whether it's an agency that's here today. That is the help that we have to offer. They have to know, and they have to get the message that they're not alone. We are standing with them, and we're going to continue to do everything we can to take them out of that life that they're living through domestic violence. And not only them, but maybe their children as well. You know, because that's why these children grow up, you know, the same way, and thinking that it's okay to have control. It's okay to beat somebody. And I say the word beat, right? Luis has brought up, you know, during these different conferences, Luis has talked about how we try to be politically correct ourselves and talking about now and saying that we don't want to talk about it. That's what it is. And Luis will remind us that it's people that are getting beat, that are getting their hair pulled, that are getting slapped, that are getting controlled. That's what it is. So again, to the victim who's out there, to the person who's living through domestic violence or some crisis, we are here to help. And that's why we're putting these conferences together. Now, tomorrow again, we'll be in Stark County. We're looking forward to being there with Mr. Ramirez, who's done good work also in the prevention, the education, and also has a great domestic violence unit as well. Yesterday, I got in trouble because I didn't introduce my unit. And I didn't introduce the people, the key people who offer, you know, so many services at our office. And I would tell them to stand, but they're already standing back there. Man, they put all this together. You know, I commend them. Our Public Affairs Division, thank you guys, you know, for being here and making sure that this message goes out. But our team at our office, you know, whether it's HR, whether it's a domestic violence unit, whether it's our crime victims unit, somehow, some way, everybody pitched in, you know, for this to happen today. And again, I want to thank the DAs who are here with us, because you know it couldn't happen without them as well. We've had some friendly welcomes in their counties with Ms. Hinojosa and Luis, and hopefully we'll have a good welcome tomorrow with Gocha. But again, at this time, I want to thank everyone for being here. Thank you very much for being committed, for committing yourselves and saying, you know what, I'm going to do something about this. I'm going to join an organization. I'm going to help out. I'm going to, you know, be more vigilant in looking at how I can help someone, especially if you know of that person that's living through domestic violence. So God bless you. God bless Hidalgo County and the Rio Grande Valley. And let's continue to do everything that we can so we can stop and end domestic violence. So thank you. Gracias. And I'm going to ask Ms. Hinojosa to come up and say a few words. Thank you.
Thank you, Hidalgo County. Thank you, DA Rodriguez. Welcome being up here with my colleagues, DA Ramirez and DA Science. We have committed ourselves, obviously, to this cause, not just because we're prosecutors, but because we see that this is a pervasive illness, violence, and beatings that are occurring in our community, and our people are the ones who are getting hurt. And I say that not just because I'm a Hispanic, I'm a woman, but because it's our people, it's our culture, it's our own children that are going to have to suffer the effects of what is happening in the home. We know that we can't do this alone. The fight is in, the strength is in numbers. And so it pleases me to see so many law enforcement officers here, because obviously you are, part of that battlefront, and then the advocates who come in and help with that as well. I will tell you that just here last week, the way this works across the valley is, I was at a conference, at a training, middle of the week last week. We had a victim come into our office that needed a protective order. When I reviewed that application, I realized that she was from Hidalgo County, but she'd already come to Willacy County, and we had already helped her with a protective order. So I immediately reached out to Rosie Martinez. Thank you, Rosie, who put me in touch with Amy and said, send me the application. She didn't have to come in and have to do that all over again. And you all were able to help her. So thank you for that. And that's the collaborative efforts that we're making to make sure that we're addressing these problems that the victims are encountering. We want to make this easy as possible for them. But the message has to be that they need to know where they can come for help, and that we're available and that we're ready. It is a beautiful day to see so much purple out here, because that's really how I know that we have so many of the advocates here, because I know y'all are the ones that are all in the purple. And that's, you all are the backbone of what we do. The best day that I will have is that we don't have a case of family violence come into our office, because we've educated people, not because they're afraid to come forward. Make no mistake, the duty of the prosecutor is not to convict, but to see that justice is done. And that's what we will be doing in Willacy County, Cameron County, Starr County, and very obviously in Hidalgo County. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak to you today, and I'll pass that back over to you, Mr. Rodriguez.
Thank you, Nanny. Thank you for the great work that you do. Next, we'll have Mr. Luis Saenz from Cameron County.
Thank you, Ricardo, and good morning. Good morning.
Morning.
Mayor, thank you very much for those remarks. And my name is Luis Saenz. I have the pleasure and the honor of being the DA in Brownsville. I have a lot of strengths, but one of my weaknesses is I tell it as it is. And sometimes I get in trouble for that. But I'm going to do the same thing as today, because this is a topic that needs to be uncovered and needs to be talked about. We were in Brownsville yesterday making the same presentation. And by the way, I want to pay tribute and compliment Mr. Rodriguez. This was his idea. He called me back in August and said, Luis, we've done a campaign for DWI. We've done training together. We've shared resources. Why don't we do something for domestic violence? And it was his idea to start this, and we started planning it in August, and here we are. We were in Willacy County, Cameron yesterday, here today, tomorrow in Starr. So again, thank you for your idea. So I saw the paper this morning, the Brownsville Herald, and the headline was "Seeking Assistance." A picture of us four, the big picture in the headline, and it said "Seeking Assistance." How appropriate that was, because that's why we're here. We're seeking assistance. We need help. We need your help. And I take it that because you're here, that you want to join our caravan. So hop on. Please join our caravan. Please join us, but not just today. Don't hop on and hop off today. You've got to stay on. You've got to stay on with us tomorrow, the day after, the year after. Because folks, this is a war that we're losing. We're losing this war every day. Just look at the newspaper. Look at TV. Husband hits wife with car, with the children in the car. Husband hits wife with a knife. The wife takes the knife on the husband. We're losing this war. Why are we losing it? Because people don't want to get involved. It's not going to happen to me. It's not going to happen to my family. I'll just look the other way. I'll just come to the concert here and forget about it. No. Hop on today, but stay with us, because it is a very difficult problem. Ricardo touched on it. Our culture, yes. Let me share a story with you about our culture so I'll remain politically correct. I was a magistrate judge, just like you were, Ricardo, for many years before becoming DA. And every day I would go to the jail to arraign those people that had gotten arrested the day and the night before. And out of those 10, 15 cases, 10 were about domestic violence. So one time I had this one individual in front of me in his orange jumpsuit. And I said, sir, you're accused of striking your wife. ¿Sí, juez? ¿Es mi señora? I said, sir, you're accused of hitting your wife. Sí, juez, es mi señora. Like, it took me a while to get over the shock to realize that he was saying, yeah, I can beat her because she's my wife. She's my object. She's my possession. And I was so upset I had to bite my tongue. Because as a judge, you're not supposed to say what you think. But in my mind, I thought, what a sorry individual you are. What a sorry excuse for a man you are. Because men don't hit women. Real men respect women. So that's what we're up against, our culture. So these are discussions that have to be had in the home. In the home, not in the courtroom. When we show up, it's too late. Dads, you have to talk to your sons. Dads, you have to have that hard conversation with your 17, your 18, your 19-year-old and pull them aside. Say, mijo, I know you have a girlfriend. And mijo, I want you to know that you respect that girl. And if I hear that you hit her, you're not going to have to worry about Sheriff Guerra arresting you. You're going to have to worry about me, your dad. Because I'm going to take care of that. That's where it starts. By the time we get into the courtroom, it's too late. It's already happened. So I take it you want to join us. I take it you want to help us. I take it you want to assist. Get on, buckle up, hang on. It's a hard ride, but we have to do it. We have to fight every day, not just today. We have to do it every day for our children. So again, thank you very much for being here. God bless Hidalgo, and God bless the Rio Grande Valley. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Luis. Before I ask Mr. Ramirez to come up, I want to recognize, and this is the ones that I can see from here. I know the Chief from Mission is here. Thank you for being here. Chief from Hidalgo, Chief from Alamo, Chief from Donna. I think the Chief from MedCouch also is here as well. Sheriff Guerra is back there as well. Thank you, Sheriff, for being here. And talking about commitments, you know, these agencies and the other agencies maybe that I missed, all our agencies have been committed 100% to, especially during the domestic violence awareness, you know, when we have our prevention and our education, but just as a law enforcement agency, thank you for everything you guys do. You know, thank you for your commitment to the citizens of your respective municipalities and also the county and the state as well. So thank you. Yes. Yeah, well, Mr. Luis Sainz staff is here. They can stand. Yeah. I gotta say Luis again. Yeah. Thank you. Which again, very collaborative effort, you know, with our staff as well. And I need to introduce one more person. And I, you know, with all due respect to law enforcement, this person is way above beyond you guys, man. You know, since I was born, my mom was here, Olga. She's here. I want to thank you. Okay. Yeah. Mr. Ramirez.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. What a wonderful turnout. What a beautiful, beautiful day, beautiful morning. And thank you for having me, Ricardo, Annette, and Luis. I am so proud to be a part of the Rio Grande Valley District Attorneys Coalition and all of the good work that we are doing together. I believe collaboratively, it's amazing. And I will let the other DAs know that the Rio Grande Valley District Attorneys Coalition has now expanded to Jim Hogg and Duval because I represent 3 counties. I represent Starr, Jim Hogg, and Duval. So we're expanding. Okay. But I'm so happy to be here to discuss and to give you a few words with reference to the topic of domestic violence. I looked over to my right and I saw the blue tablecloth over here from the CAC, and it reads "Breaking the Cycle of Abuse." Well, they usually deal with abuse of children, but I think we can use the same term with reference to domestic violence, which is breaking a cycle of abuse that has become so prevalent in our communities. And maybe it has been for years and years, but I think we're just coming to grips with the fact that this happens on a daily, if not hourly basis in our region, in our valley. It's happening right now as we speak. And we're talking about yesterday, we met and had a press conference in Cameron County at Texas Southmost College. And we had a wonderful audience. We had an audience of young people. And I was telling Luis earlier that's the kind of audience that we need to reach. We need to reach the young people who are growing up, who will confront this issue in the future. And we need to break the cycle of abuse, of domestic violence, because the numbers weren't given today, but they were given yesterday by Ricardo, and the numbers are overwhelming. The numbers are staggering. And we all know that those are just the numbers that are reported of issues and reports of domestic abuse and domestic violence. Can you imagine the numbers that go unreported for various reasons, as Ricardo discussed? Various reasons, the stigma attached to saying, you know what, I am in an abusive relationship, the stigma attached to loving the person that is abusing you, all of those issues, and they're deep psychological issues that we need to break the cycle of abuse. And how do we do that? Well, we're doing that now, and we're doing that all this month, and we're doing that all this week because of Ricardo's idea to do a caravan starting in Willacy, then going to Cameron, now coming to Hidalgo, tomorrow in Starr County. And it's great to see everybody out here so that we can bring and break the cycle of abuse. And I think that we do this, number one, by creating awareness. And that's what the main focus of this type of press conference is. Let's bring awareness to the issue. Let's understand that domestic abuse and domestic violence is happening on a daily, if not hourly basis in the Rio Grande Valley. Okay, this is not something that happens every once in a while. It's happening all the time. So let's make our constituents, let's make our public aware of the fact that it's happening all the time. And education, the education that once we've become aware of it, let's educate ourselves. Let's educate our children. Let's let them know that, you know what, this is not normal. So many children grow up in households where domestic violence takes place on a daily basis, and they become immune to it. They began to believe, you know what, this is normal. This is the way my dad and I, or my dad and mom interact. This is the way I live. As Luis said yesterday, after an incident of domestic violence, who is in the corner? Who's cowering in the corner? The children. And unfortunately, statistics show that children, especially males, who grow up in an environment that is fraught with domestic violence, many times repeat that type of behavior in their own relationships in the future. So we need to educate the public. We need to educate everybody, including our youth, that this is not normal, and this is not right, and this is not acceptable. And then comes the prevention. The prevention and the awareness and the courage to say, you know what, when this happens, if I know that my best friend is in a violent relationship, I'm going to talk to her, or I'm going to talk to him, and I'm going to say, get help, get out, let me help you. That is prevention. As all of us have said here this morning, we don't want to have to do this in court when there's already been a homicide, or there's already been an aggravated assault. We want to prevent this type of thing. And as crazy as it sounds, there is a way to encourage and enlarge the prevention of domestic violence. So I want to thank my fellow DAs for inviting me. I want to thank you for being here. This is a wonderful turnout. Let's get on the bandwagon, as we said, right now, and stay on the bandwagon And let's work to prevent domestic violence in our communities in the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Ramirez. We also have the Chief of Police from FAR as well that has joined us. Thank you, Chief. Thank you for being here. Next, we have Assistant Police Chief Chat Duffner. We come up for a few words. Chief Ayala couldn't be here today, had a prior commitment, but we have Assistant Police Chief Mr. Duffner with a few words.
Good morning.
Morning.
Sorry you all have to hear me after these great speakers. On behalf of Chief Jaime Ayala, the City of Edinburgh, and the Edinburgh Police Department, welcome to Burdock Arena. I agree with what they were talking about. This is a community problem. The good thing is this community is filled with a lot of good people, and a lot of good people are there willing to help. In the Edinburgh Police Department, we do have a crime victim liaison. Her name is Samar Ochoa. She is not here with us right now because she's over at UTRGV talking to students about resources that are available in our community. She works closely with a lot of police departments here in the Valley. She works with, of course, the Hidalgo District Attorney's Office. She, Mujeres Unidas, Angels of Love Advocacy Project, and the Rio Grande Valley Empowerment Zone. She helps with trying the prevention and the after effects of domestic violence. Please know, we answer that call too many times where domestic violence is involved. Please know that there are people here willing to help, and they will help, and they do care. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Duffner. Next, we have, which we're always grateful for her presence here. You know, she travels from afar, and I think she's made just about every press conference that we've had in Hidalgo County, if not all. We have Dora Terry, who is the Executive Director of the Texas Council of Family Violence, that again came from Austin to be with us here and share a few words and some important information as well. Dora, thank you.
I may have not been here for the first one, but I got here as fast as I could after that. You know, it is difficult to follow the incredible words that have already been shared with you. A little bit about the Texas Council on Family Violence. We are the only statewide coalition that stands up for a violence-free environment across the state of Texas. We shape public policy. We equip and support service providers like Mujeres Unidas, and we initiate strategic prevention efforts. Our main focus in all of that is we lobby at the legislature. We lobby for appropriation so that there are resources to be able to support people who need the assistance, as we've talked about. That change in the strangulation law statute a few years ago, that was us. So recognize that while we're here to support you in every facet, there is an entire team of people in Austin that do this work as well. I want to, before I get into my formal comments around state data, I want to absolutely tell this community that you have two national treasures, and they should be like in the Smithsonian or something, right? Under lots of security. One is Estela de Anda, Executive Director of Mujeres Unidas. She's actually one of the founders of the Texas Council on Family Violence. So imagine that 45 years ago, she was one of the visionaries that put things into place and into motion. I think the second national treasure that is here in this community is Rosie Martinez. There is nothing that doesn't get done and moved without her in leadership. So back to what is the landscape of domestic violence across the state of Texas, and you know very much what your community is experiencing. In the last year, over 200,000 calls were made to law enforcement because home was not safe. In the last year, 67,000, primarily women and children, were served in agencies just like Mujeres Unidas across the state because home was not safe. Every year, we examine the data and analyze every homicide in the state of Texas to identify trends, And we use this as an instrument of change for policy, practice, and training. In the last year, 204 Texans lost their lives because home was not safe. They ranged in ages from 14 to 85. And so when you think about the 14-year-old who was killed by her boyfriend, her biggest fear should be, or her biggest worry that day should be, what Snapchat filter am I going to use today? And for the 84-year-old, she was somebody's abuelita, right? And she should be enjoying her golden years. By contrast, she was killed by her husband. You know, these are some remarkable and difficult to ignore statistics in the state of Texas. Additionally, across the state of Texas, 44% of requests for emergency shelter, because I'm afraid to be in my home, go unmet because of capacity. So when you're finally brave enough to make that call, sometimes the inn is full. There are multiple things that inspired me from the speakers that were here. I do believe this is a caravan and that we jump on the caravan and buckle up and let's go for a ride. Oftentimes I'm asked in the community, but what can I do? I'm not I don't have any real influence, unlike the people that are up here on the stage. So what can I do? First and foremost, we can model healthy relationships to our children. We can raise good men. We can raise confident women. And we have that power individually to do that. What more can we do? You can give your time, your talents, and your treasures to organizations like Mujeres Unidas. I promise you, you have a hidden talent, we're going to make the most of it. So we do have an individual ability to impact change. You know, I would be remiss if I also didn't talk about the prevention work that's already been discussed. We often ask, when do I plant a tree so I can enjoy the shade now? Well, you should have planted the tree 20 years ago, right? Well, Young Hearts Matter here in Hidalgo County and beyond in the region, you're planting the tree now so that the shade of justice and healthy relationships is going to happen. It takes approximately 2 generations to erase the impact of family violence on an individual family. So the work that is being done now with young people, the work that is being done for children that are witnessing and experiencing violence, it will take 2 generations to erase that from their DNA, if I could say that. To the comments about child abuse, it is documented that the co-occurrence of child abuse and domestic violence occurs in no less than 50% of the cases. So keep that in mind. While the issues merit their individual attention, they're inextricably intertwined. And so every year as I stand here and I come and tell you the statistics, it is not to help to make anyone feel defeated. It's to re-energize you. It's to recommit and redouble those efforts to commitment, to engage people to join us in not only in prosecution and law enforcement, but the very people that we socialize and interact with. That's who we have the greatest influence. And so as I close out, if I could invite you to think of a precious memory. Maybe you were holding your newborn child in your arms. Maybe you remember your mother's warm embrace. Maybe your mom when she was hugging you. Maybe it's you were looking into your husband's, wife's, partner's eyes and saw the unconditional love. If I can ask you to pull that one memory forward, and if you can imagine that everybody in our state would have that kind of a memory for themselves directly, Because if you can imagine it, you can help create it. And that's exactly what you're doing today. So thank you to the wonderful leadership of the men and women that are on the stage, and continue doing your remarkable work. I will say this to the DAs alongside me. I do not know of any other coalition of district attorneys that I'm aware of that are working in this type of collaboration. We ourselves convene a leadership core of district attorneys, so you may be getting a phone call here shortly as well. But be proud of everything that the committee is doing, that the community is doing. And I too understand the losses that this community has had, because when one person is not safe, none of us are safe. And we've seen that far too often. You have lost members of your law enforcement. We have seen mass shootings. So when one person is not safe, none of us are safe. Thank you.
Thank you, Gloria. And I'm gonna put the DAs on the spot now, because the original plan was to take this caravan and take this cause to Austin, right? But we said, you know what? Let's take care of our hometowns first, and that's why we're doing this. But I challenge them, and I want them to take this caravan next year with everybody that's here, when we show up in the steps of the Capitol, and we remind our legislators to strengthen not only the funds that apply to domestic violence and to the services that are given, but to strengthen the laws of domestic violence as well. Okay, so guys, and then no pressure, right? Next year, right? But Gloria, but Gloria, thank you for being here. Appreciate it. Gracias. Thank you. And thank you for your patience. We're almost done here. We're gonna have ask Cecilia Mata to come up from Mujeres Unidas also to share a few words.
Good morning, everyone. I would like to start off by thanking Mr. Rodriguez for including us in this wonderful event. It's been awesome to be here for the past 7 years. We work closely with them, the DA's office. I need and Belinda. I see you're the first person I see right now. I've been working with Belinda for I don't know how long. Amy, everyone from the DA's office, and of course Rosie and everyone else. But this is an amazing sight for me to see everyone here. We had our candlelight vigil last week, and we talked about how things were not like this even a few years ago. I've been with Mujeres Unidas for 24 years, and I would not be sitting in the same place with so many law enforcement officers, so many DAs and prosecutors, people that would be working together with us to help victims. So I am very honored to be here, and very grateful to everyone that works with victims. And I would like to also recognize, I know she's been recognized, but there's not enough recognition for our executive director, Estela de Anda, who's been the director of Mujeres Unidas. If you would please stand. You know, in 1978, when Mujeres Unidas started, there was no services for victims. And it was a group of volunteers that started our first shelter, which was in Donna. And then with the leadership of our director, she helped build the big shelter here in Hidalgo County and start our services. It was very hard for us to get into a law enforcement agency and talk to them about services or things that needed to be done with victims, because as a community, we tend to blame the victim. You know, we've talked about physical violence, you know, everything is physical, but we also deal with victims who are torn down emotionally, psychologically. And with that, you really can't do much legally. But at Mujeres Unidas, we do have counselors that provide services for victims who need help. And we know that violence escalates. Sometimes, you know, it'll start with you know, talking bad to them or putting them down. It leads to pushing, to hitting, and sometimes even to having them lose their life as a result of family violence. And of course, the children, everybody that's involved, their family members. We're such a tight-knit community that it doesn't just affect, you know, the couple. When I started working with Mujeres Unidas, I used to think, oh, well, how hard can it be?
I'm going to be working with couples that can't get along and they're just fighting. But I didn't realize to the extent that family violence really went when it came to families. We're very close to our in-laws. We're very close to our cousins-in-laws. We get really close. And when somebody is involved in a domestic violence situation, it just doesn't affect the couple. It affects the whole family and then the community as a whole. So we can close our eyes and say, there's not violence in my home. I don't know anybody who is a victim of family violence. But if we really open our eyes, I think we all know someone or have gone through something personally. So it's very important that we do continue with the prevention efforts, to continue to inform people that there are services for them and that they don't have to be afraid, they don't have to be ashamed to say this is happening to me, because they're not to blame. The person we need to blame is a perpetrator, and they need to stop. And they need to know that this community is not going to tolerate them being abusive to anyone. And we are a community that's come a long ways, and I think it's a great thing that we are here today. Just to give you some numbers, at Mujeres Unidas last year, we sheltered 367 people in our shelter. We had over 1,600 people who called us for services or came into our office for services. We know that not everybody that came into our office filed charges or filed a report because they're afraid of retaliation, mainly retaliation. People say, well, why don't they say something? Why don't they just get up and go? Well, when someone is so controlled and you don't have money, you're not allowed to work, you're not allowed to go to school, you don't want to get your family involved because, they could get hurt as well, or they could do something to the perpetrator. They're trying to protect their families. They're trying to keep the family together. So when somebody doesn't come forward, it's not because they don't want to. Sometimes they're just really afraid to do so. So please, if you do know of someone, or if you personally are going through some type of abuse, do not be afraid to reach out for help. So I think we are a safer community together. Thank you.
Thank you, Cecilia. And next we have be our last speaker, Amy Cantu, who's the chief prosecutor of the domestic violence unit and who's done a great job in taking charge of that unit. And I hear it every day. Rick, we're busy and we need more help. And again, the numbers to me, it is not. It's a bad thing and a good thing. I see it in a good way in the sense of people are getting this information. Individuals who are living through domestic violence are saying, you know what, I know what to do now, and they're seeking the services. Whether it's our office, whether it's in Cameron, Willacy, or Star, they're getting this. They're getting educated, and they're finding ways to be able to get out of these relationships. So they seek help. So of course we're going to have more numbers. So again, we welcome all those individuals that are seeking help and again, Amy Cantu does a good job of on the prosecution aspect of it all as well, but also in the prevention awareness. So, Ms. Amy Cantu.
Good morning, everybody. How is everybody this morning? It's a beautiful day. Thank you, for everybody for being here today. So the first thing that I want to do is I want to recognize our DA, Mr. Rodriguez, who created the victims unit. We didn't have a victims unit before 2015. Now our victims unit provides services for all of our victims here in our community. He also created the domestic violence unit, something that we didn't have. Our focus in the domestic violence unit is to prosecute protective orders and criminal cases, criminal domestic violence cases. I would also like to thank our staff. We have our legal assistants here, our advocates from the victims unit and our domestic violence unit. We have our investigator, Pequeño, and our prosecutors who are sitting here in these chairs down here. I want to thank you for all your hard work. I know we stay busy. It isn't an 8-to-5 job. We work all the time. We work after hours. We work on the weekends. I want to thank you guys for all your hard work. We also have our law enforcement agencies who are present today, as well as our community service agencies, our crime victims liaisons. We want to thank you for everything that you do. And I want to ask everybody to give them a round of applause for everything that they do. So at this time, what we want to do is we want to go ahead and let you know that if you know somebody who is a victim of domestic violence or you are a victim of domestic violence, please ask for help. Don't be afraid to ask for help. There is help out there for you. You can file charges. You can call your local law enforcement agency, file charges. If that person is arrested or once that person is arrested, the judge can order bond conditions. They can order a no contact order. You can also request an emergency protective order through your law enforcement agency. The municipal court or the JP court can issue an emergency protective order. These orders are good for 31 days, 61 days, or 91 days. This will protect you. You can also call our office. The office number is 956-292-7613 to request a civil protective order. These orders are in effect for 2 years or up to a lifetime, depending on the situation that you're going through. Before I forget, I don't know if he's out here, and I know I talked to him this morning, Art Villarreal. If you're out here, I want to thank Art from Cameron County. Art reached out to me last year, and he asked the four counties to get together. So the 4 chiefs in our 4 counties, we get together once a month and we share information. Thank you, Art, for doing that for us. So there are several law enforcement agencies and community service agencies who do assist us with protective orders. I want to go ahead and let you know that if you aren't able to come to our office, you can always go to their office. They will help you fill out a protective order application. Mujeres Unidas, the Sheriff's Office, Weslaco PD, Edinburgh PD, Palmview PD, Sullivan City PD, Peñitas PD, Hidalgo PD, and the Rio Grande Valley Empowerment Zone. So if you are unable to come to our office, please go to your local law enforcement agency and they can help you fill out a protective order application that will be submitted to our office. So again, we remind you, there is help out there. Don't be afraid to ask for help. And the message that we want to send out today is that we must all work together to help end domestic violence. Thank you.
So we're gonna go a little bit out of agenda. We apologize, but Mr. Rodriguez wasn't aware that we were gonna do this. We have something to give for the amazing work that he has done, not just with our office, but with the entire community of Hidalgo County and now, regionally and statewide. And I want to ask all our staff from the District Attorney's Office to please come up here so that we can give him this very well deserved recognition.
And Mr. Rodriguez, for your hard work and your leadership, we want to recognize you on behalf of the Victims Unit and the Domestic Violence Unit. We appreciate all your hard work since 2015. And I know that we're all going to miss you.
Thank you very much, and I accept this on behalf of everyone that's up here, on behalf of the office who's done such great work, and we have collaborated together for so many years, and not only having events like this, but we've done so many great things at the office, and I really appreciate it. I didn't expect it, and that's not why I do this. I don't do it for the recognition. I do it because it's in my heart. I love to help people, and I love to give a service, and that's what this office has given me the opportunity to do. So I'm very appreciative of my staff members, everybody at the office, and especially the community. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to serve. Again, this concludes the press conference. I want to thank all the other DAs who were here. Gracias. Thank you for your patience. I want to thank all the agencies, the law enforcement agencies. I want to thank you all for being here. Our crime victim liaisons who are here today from all different agencies. I know they've grown, over the years. We started with 1 and 2. I commend the municipalities for having a crime victim liaison in their agencies, which is very important. Mayor, thank you for your great words. Thank you for being here. Andy, thank you for the beautiful prayer. I used to look for Andy. Andy's my go-to guy, and when I seek help from God, when I need a prayer, Andy would always come to me. So I asked, "Did you call? Where's Andy?" They already had beat me to it. They already had called Andy. So Andy, thank you for the beautiful prayer. The flowers, thank you, Mr. Cano, for the flowers. Mr. Cano offers a safety app that he has introduced it to some agencies. It's a good app, that for victims of domestic violence and other victims as well. So to the media, thank you for being here. We appreciate your presence. Because you guys are the ones that can send this powerful message out there to all those who are in need, and to our community and to everybody who's here. Again, we beg of you to please stay committed, be committed, and invite someone to join in some kind of effort to end domestic violence, because that's the only way we're gonna beat this war. Like Mr. Stein said, we got to do it all together, and it's just not just us up here or law enforcement agencies. We need a community to be able to join in so we can end this. Okay, so thank you very much again for being here. God bless you. God bless Hidalgo County. God bless the Rio Grande Valley. Thank you.